Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to BSV TV. I'm your host Satoshi, and on this show we'll be defending the one and only, truly genuine Bitcoin. The Bitcoin that Satoshi Nakamoto designed in his white paper as a peer-to-peer electronic cash system for the world. Let's get the disclaimers out of the way. So all the statements that you hear on this show are opinion and must only ever be taken as opinion. They are never to be taken as any form of advice, family, financial, sexual or otherwise. And on that note, let's sit back, relax, have some fun and enjoy the show. Get paid for your content in Bitcoin and set your own fee on Streamanity.
Yeah, I'm not surprised I wasn't asked why I'm convinced Craig is Satoshi. I posted on Reddit. He signed in my presence using the private key from block number one, the very first mined Bitcoin block. On a computer that I'm convinced had not been tampered with, on software I'm convinced that had not been tampered with, a message of my choosing.
At Enchain, we've just funded a number of universities doing, so far, a test up to 1 gigabyte because it validates what we've already done independently. We've tested up to 380 gigabyte blocks. We've tested 1 million transactions a second and transaction sizes up to 20 megabytes. Super complex scripts. Basically ones that can run operating systems. That's all of global commerce times about 50. On top of that, we can have complex scripts. On top of that, we can scale each of those transactions 1,000 times, which effectively means about 1 billion transactions per second, which means we can then have all derivatives, all complex trades. That means high frequency trading. It means everything that happens globally.
Is the market that effectively BSV is going for, is that global e-commerce, which is currently valued at $29 trillion?
No, that's too small.
Buy and sell Bitcoin instantly at bsvgravity.com. And you can now book and pay for your winter holiday at skibsv.com. Alrighty people, it looks like we are live. Aaron is in the house already. Good to see you. Like a whippet. Right, well let's just crack on with the show because we've already done the intros there in my pre-made intro. So never a dull moment in crypto, is there? Check it out. Let's just crack on with the latest of this, shall we? Following on from this Copa thing yesterday. So this is CoinGeek's own interpretation of this. Oh, is this the one we read yesterday? Let's have a... No. So we read SV Train's interpretation of yesterday. So we'll read this one. Tulip Trust files lawsuit against Ira Kleiman over billions in Bitcoin fortune. Tulip Trust trustee Ramona Ang has sued Ira Kleiman for his negligent and reckless conduct in destroying all clues to access a Bitcoin fortune, which were contained in the documents and the data on the electronic devices of Dr. Craig Wright's friend and late David Kleiman. What a douchebag. We should have another video, another douchebag of Bitcoin video. Ira Kleiman destroying access to billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin. Dolt. As personal representative of the estate of David Kleiman and self-proclaimed managing member of the Florida company, Ira Kleiman sued Craig Wright over Bitcoins now worth billions, which Ira Kleiman claims was stolen by Dr. Craig Wright. This lawsuit against Ira Kleiman tells the real story. Ira Kleiman negligently and recklessly allowed his personal interest to reign supreme over the duties owed to others in his capacity as personal representative of the estate and managing member of the company. The result was devastating as Ira destroyed hard drives, documents and electronic data belonging to his brother, which Ira Kleiman himself alleges contained billions of dollars of Bitcoin. Even worse, Ira continued to delete and overwrite data after being told not to do so by Dr. Wright, leading to the loss of information which would have potentially enabled access to the Bitcoins. For this, the Tulip Trust is seeking relief based on negligence and breach of fiduciary duty. Oh, this is brilliant. This is brilliant. Who needs soap operas when you've got Bitcoin? This is great. The lawsuit requires Ira to answer for his interference with Dave's documents and electronic devices and be held accountable for the loss of Bitcoins worth billions of dollars. read the court documents here. Let's have a quick look and see what this says. Here we go. In the 15th Judicial Circuit and from Palm Beach County, Florida. Ramona Ang, as trustee of the Tulip Trust, successor in interest to Craig Wright, R&D, is that research and development? Plaintiff versus Ira Kleiman, a personal representative of the estate of David Kleiman. Complaint and jury demand. Plaintiff Ramona Ang and trustee of Tulip Trust sues defendant Ira Kleiman as personal representative of the estate of Dave Kleiman and states as follows. Plaintiff Ramona Ang is the sole trustee of the Tulip Trust, a trust organised under the laws of Seychelles. The Tulip Trust is successor in interest to the interest of Craig Wright R&D and W&K Info Defence Research LLC. Number 2, Craig Wright R&D, an Australian entity identified by ABN, whatever that number is, was a shareholder of W&K, a Florida limited liability company. Craig Wright R&D's interest in W&K is now held by the Tulip Trust. Defendant Ira Kleiman is the resident of Palm Beach County, Florida. He's the brother of Dave Kleiman and personal representative of the estate. Prior to his death, David Kleiman was a managing member of W&K. The court has jurisdiction over this action pursuant Florida State 26012 because the amount in controversy exceeds $30,000 exclusive of costs, interest and attorney fees. View lies within the circuit under Florida State 47011 because defendant 1 Kleiman resides in this county and because he grossly negligently and recklessly destroyed property belonging to W&K and its members, including the Tulip Trust in this county. Ira Kleiman has commenced a multi-billion-dollar lawsuit in federal court against Craig Wright for, among other things, allegedly misappropriating bitcoins David Kleiman purported to own through W&K. Prior to David Kleiman's death, Craig Wright R&D and David Kleiman both held an interest in W&K. In the lawsuit, Ira Kleiman has as the personal representative of the estate of David Kleiman, alleges that he stepped into Dave Kleiman's shoes as the managing member of W&K. As such, he owes a fiduciary duty to its members. Oh, this is great. In the lawsuit, Ira Kleiman also alleges that W&K mined bitcoins now worth billions of dollars, some held for the benefit of Craig Wright, predecessor in interest to the Tulip Trust. Beginning shortly after Dave Kleiman's death and continuing through to at least October 2018, Ira Kleiman systematically destroyed documents and electoral data that would have contained the private keys and information regarding those keys needed to access any Bitcoin held by W&K. As a result of that destruction, the Tulip Trust has suffered substantial damages in the form of Bitcoins it can no longer access. General information relating to Bitcoin is storage. Bitcoin is Ira Kleiman's knowledge of computers, computer forensics, and Bitcoin. Ira Kleiman is a web designer with extensive computer knowledge. Specifically, he has been employed in the web design and marketing for 22 years and through his work became familiar with how to preserve, overwrite, and restore data on the electronic devices. Because Ira Kleiman's computer knowledge, he knew or should have known that writing data to an electronic storage device and reformatting a computer drive would permanently delete data. Yes, he should. Yes, he should. After Dave Kleiman's death, Ira Kleiman was appointed as the personal representative of the estate and, as alleged in the lawsuit, stepped into Dave Kleiman's shoes as managing member of W&K. In that role, Ira Kleiman went to Dave Kleiman's house to begin cleaning it out. He also hired a professional cleaning crew to assist him with the process. Ira Kleiman did not secure David Kleiman's work papers or electronic devices prior to the professional cleaning. Ira Kleiman destroyed Dave Kleiman's paper files. During the cleaning process, Ira Kleiman discarded papers he located through David Kleiman's home, including in his bedroom and office. Before discarding a document, Ira Kleiman read it only briefly, discarding papers without taking any steps to determine their importance. At his April 8, 2019 and January 10, 2020 depositions in the lawsuit, Ira Kleiman admitted that he could have thrown away papers containing important information relating to W&K's Bitcoin holdings and the means to access those holdings. Ira Kleiman destroyed Dave Kleiman's electronic data. Ira Kleiman collected over 20 electronic devices from Dave Kleiman's homes. Those devices included the following. All these. All right. Oh, this is great. This is great. This is gold. Absolute gold. I love all this toing and froing and backwards and forwards stuff. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. Oh dear, honestly. Never a dull moment in crypto. So let's read some of these other articles here. Coinbase IPO, your chance to buy exposure to regulatory disaster. The Coinbase IPO is actually a direct listing and is set to go live on April 14th. It demonstrates that we are currently at an awkward phase in the digital asset story, caught between two distinct areas. Distinct errors. On one side, in the past, there is a chaotic infancy where early adopters scramble to cobble together important ecosystem infrastructure largely outside the notice of the mainstream and especially the legal system. On the other, stretching out ahead of us is an inevitable future in which the digital asset industry has reached maturation. Our service providers are compliant and watched carefully. Our lawmakers have adapted or introduced legislation where necessary, and regulators and law enforcement the experience to pursue bad actors in the same way they would in any other industry. What we are seeing in the industry is the transition between the past and the future. Though many of the earliest and most lawless service providers have gone extinct, like Mt. Gox and Charlie Shrem or Binance, which has recently, as last month, was announced to be under investigation by the CFTC. Some of the pillar companies in the digital asset community are holdover from this period. Coinbase is one of those companies, and they're asking you to give them your money. Buying into a race to the bottom. As long as there has been talk of Coinbase IPO, there has been excitement. After all, Coinbase is the largest digital currency exchange in the United States by volume, with excellent brand recognition across the world. To invest in Coinbase, supposedly, is to be able to invest in a pillar of the ecosystem for the first time in the history of the industry. Though Coinbase's market position goes some way to explaining its gargantuan $100 billion valuation. I mean, that's insane. That's insane valuation. It does not explain everything. The IPO is coming at a time of unprecedented investment activity for demographics who were previously absent. The most proximate cause for the excitement and valuation are Coinbase's reported financial results. Coinbase released preliminary and unaudited first quarter results for 2021 a week ago, which built already bloated revenue expectations to even more absurd heights. The quarter one revenue showed a 9-fold increase in revenues to $1.8 billion compared to the same period last year. That's nuts. Up from 1.3 billion generated through all of 2020. I mean, up 1.3 billion. It's insane. Based on Coinbase's report, revenue breakdown in 2020, 1.5 billion of this comes from transaction fees. These revenues and the revenues being forecast in justifying Coinbase's extraordinary valuation are based on Coinbase's current fee structure, which can run as high as 10% per transaction. Coinbase's S1 filing indicates an average transaction fee of about 0.5% in 2020. To illustrate how high these fees are, compare this to the long-standing Nasdaq Incorporated, which owns Nasdaq as well as Philadelphia and Boston stock exchanges. According to Fortune, the average fee for each trade is 0.01% on the dollar. Just goes to show you how much they're ripping people off, really, as in like Coinbase is ripping people off. Nasdaq Incorporated is operating in a field which is far past the point of maturation and where the equilibrium is relatively well entrenched. While direct comparisons will never be perfect, it seems plainly obvious that Coinbase is a fat target for the competitors who will be able to easily compete with Coinbase on price. There seems almost no chance that Coinbase's fees are ever as high as they are now, and yet this is the assumption that people seem to be making in justifying Coinbase's massive valuation. Good point. Coinbase has enjoyed a lot of room at the top purely because so few other companies in the industry last long enough to grow as large as Coinbase has without being crippled by some scandal or another. The fees are high, but reliability is everything to an exchange, and escaping significant regulatory action for this long is about all it takes to be considered reliable in this industry. These days are coming to an end. Regulatory and legislative attention are slowly purifying the digital asset lake at a time where the industry is in the mainstream like never before. Competition is going to come thick and fast, and we'll have plenty of room to outmaneuver Coinbase in terms of fees. At the same time, these new companies are becoming less vulnerable to the great regulatory filter that has hit here too, been protecting Coinbase. So, what would Coinbase look like in a world where its fees are comparable with that of the Nasdaq? If Coinbase's average fee for the first quarter of this year was 0.01% rather than 0.5%, Coinbase's revenue would drop from 1.5 billion to less than 40 million. That's a massive drop. Considering, remember, a billion is 1,000 million. So we're talking 1,500 million down to 40 million. In other words, the Coinbase IPO is an offer to buy into a race to the bottom that hasn't even started yet. Skeletons in the closet. Not only will Coinbase's competition be able to compete purely on price, but they'll have a market advantage in another way. The great regulatory filter talked about above has protected Coinbase, but purely by accident. Coinbase is like planet Earth, floating through the universe, thriving while other planets are wiped from existence by traveling asteroids and other celestial dangers. But just because Earth has managed to narrowly escape collision with a passing comet, or happen to survive the disasters that have come its way, does not mean that an asteroid or even asteroids are not currently on a collision course with our planet, waiting to annihilate us at some future date. Yeah, cheers for that. The same is true of Coinbase, founded in the same era, where BitConnect was allowed to operate as a pyramid scheme with little scrutiny. It is pure accident that Coinbase was not crippled by some scandal or another long before it reached its current level of dominance. In fact, Coinbase has been confronted with a number of serious accusations over the years, up to and including last month. There are accusations of insider trading. Massive insider trading and all this shit that's gone on. And their exchange suddenly goes down for outages whenever there's huge movements in the market. It's outrageous. But again, it's just shitcoiners that are loving this, because shitcoiners have never really been involved in the stock market before. Suddenly shitcoiners getting involved in this with their shit for brains, and they don't know what they're doing. There are ongoing questions, and especially when Ethereum, like the number two, shitcoin on the entire market, created by a 21-year-old computer game geek who wanted to create it so he could buy swords and weapons for his computer games. It's insane. There are ongoing questions over Coinbase's decision to list XRP. What a joke! What a joke! While we're on this topic of XRP, the video that we're going to play now? Oh, yes, indeed. This is the CTO of XRP trying to explain that XRP is different to Bitcoin and Ethereum. So just have a listen to this. Hold on a sec. Let's see if I can find it. My douchebags of Bitcoin videos. Hold on. I'll have to sort this out in my files. Here it is. Right, we'll find this in just a second. Wait for these images to come up. I know it's around here somewhere. Come on, David Schwartz. Show your face. Oh, we're nearly there. Got it. Have a listen to this. And try not to laugh.
Pleasure to have you, David. All right, so I was hoping you could comment perhaps briefly on this piece of news out this morning. Is Ripple hoping to find evidence that XRP is similar to Bitcoin and Ether and should not be considered a security?
Yeah, I think the primary argument that we're trying to make here is that the market considers them similar. We considered them similar. All of the evidence suggested that they were similar. And then the SEC just, comes out of nowhere and say, nope, they're completely different. Ripple's a company. We're based in San Francisco. We have employees. We have shareholders. We have a CEO. I work for that company. I'm the chief technology officer. And it's a company like any other company. It's centralized. What the CEO says goes. There's a board of directors. It just works like any other company. The XRP is a digital asset. It's censorship resistant. It's publicly traded. It trades on the XRP ledger. Ripple does not own or control the XRP ledger in any way.
So how did Ripple then get all the XRP that it has? It has about half the supply. So just how did that particular transaction happen?
The XRP ledger has a very different design from what Bitcoin and Ethereum have, and many other digital assets. Like in Bitcoin, the stakeholders are at least to some extent the miners, and the miners reap the rewards of the transaction fees. The XRP ledger doesn't work that way. It is not competitive. Nobody's competing to reap fees. Because it's not a competitive system, it doesn't have any way to sort of award fees to a particular party. Because although if it had a way to award fees to particular parties, people would compete for those fees, and it would become competitive. So the way it's design works is when the ledger first began operation, the 100 billion XRP, all that will ever exist, were sort of up for grabs. And lots of people grabbed XRP out of that system, but it just so happens that obviously, just like early miners mined, huge amounts of Bitcoin before the public knew about it or was using it, early XRP users grabbed large amounts of that pool of XRP. And so the people who developed the ledger wound up with the vast majority of it, and then have been distributing it since then.
Unbelievable. Yeah, so the developers who developed the network, they grabbed a lot of them. It is absolutely a security. Honestly, it's insane. Oh yeah. So the market thinks they're similar, and we think they're similar, and all the evidence suggests that they're similar, but they're completely different. I went to Thailand and heard that. Same, but different. Oh my God. What a joke. It's an utter shit show. So XRP, which the SEC is currently pursuing on the basis that it is an unregistered security, which the chief technical officer just explained that it is, because there's no competition in the system, and therefore fees cannot be allocated. They go to a centralized party, which is Ripple. Coinbase faces a class action suit over the matter on this basis, that they were aware that it was listing an unregistered security and had therefore defrauded investors who had bought the asset. Coinbase is often hit with complaints of unexplained outages. Here we go, unexplained outages during the most significant price movements. Oh my God, I mean, it's insane. Let's see what this article links to it. Here we go. Coinbase customers locked out of Bitcoin boom. Crypto exchanges froze some accounts for weeks without explanation. I mean, it's just scandalous. It's hilarious. It's an utter shit show. It's not as though Coinbase's preparation for its public offering can alleviate any concerns either. In fact, Coinbase was being punished by regulators as recently as last month. The Commodities Future Trading Commission fined Coinbase for artificially inflating trading volumes by trading between its own entities. Why on earth anybody would want to risk investing in a company that's been fined for these allegations is just beyond me. Shitcoin is shit for brains. In October 2020, Coinbase's chief compliance officer, Jeff Horowitz, left the company, the timing of which raised eyebrows considering how close the company was to its IPO at the stage. Horowitz's departure came loosely around the time of a broader and more earth-shaking revelation. An expose by the New York Times not 4 months ago exposed employees' discrimination on the basis of both race and gender. For example, women were paid 8% less than men in similar roles, while black workers were paid 7% less than non-black employees in comparable roles. That's outrageous. I mean, that is so old school. Oh my God. Oh my God. The New York Times also reported that 3/4 of Coinbase's black employees quit through late 2018. That's not looking good. In early 2019, with 11 complaining of racist or discriminatory treatment, which was not actioned by management, including instances of open racism. What the F? Seriously? That's outrageous. One of the employees had this to say. Most people of color working in tech know that there's a diversity problem, but I've never experienced anything like Coinbase. That is scathing. You know, that's scathing. I mean, let's just have a look at Brian Armstrong, shall we? Now that we know this about him. Armstrong. Images. Look. He's a skinhead. A skinhead accused of racism. It's not looking good, mate. It's not looking good. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Coinbase is worried about Satoshi Nakamoto. Oh, it should be. In Coinbase's S1 filing, a mandatory disclosure for which must be submitted to the SEC by any company wanting to go public, they list a number of factors which have the potential to adversely affect their business. Naturally, the health of the digital asset markets is a major factor, but Coinbase identifies one in particular worth mentioning. Quote here, the identification of Satoshi Nakamoto, the pseudonymous person or persons who develop Bitcoin, or the transfer of Satoshi's Bitcoins. So this was to do with what could significantly affect their share price. This is intriguing by itself. Most organizations in Coinbase position expend great effort to downplay the sword of Damocles hanging over the head of the market, namely that the return of Satoshi Nakamoto and the potential release of billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin could be catastrophic for the market. The timing of this conclusion invites consideration, given the burst of activity by Dr. Craig Wright in the last year in combating those who have called him a fraud and attempting to discredit Bitcoin SV, including the well-publicized delisting attack on BSV by a number of exchanges. Yeah, and Coinbase, who refused to let people buy it. You know, only transfer it out. It's outrageous. Buying exposure to the scandal. This mortgage board of controversies, some as recent as last month, should be troubling at Coinbase as Coinbase prepares to go public. Certainly, the kinds of crises common to the industry have the potential to sink a company all by themselves. A single hack was enough to spell the end for Mt. Gox, well before much more damning suspicion over Mt. Gox's involvement came to light. Coinbase might now be big enough to withstand many scandals that would have wiped out smaller organizations. However, when a company is public, the investors, many of whom will be retail, get direct exposure to the impact of these scandals. And companies within the digital asset industry are hit with a staggering number of scandals and criminal accusations compared to other industries. While these have certainly received media coverage and public interest, the only measure of their impact has been where it has been large enough to sink the company entirely. Yeah, because they've not been public companies. More often, the public only gets drabs of information leaked to the press, or if they're lucky, a balance sheet to pick over and compare against the pre-scandal earnings. Yeah, if they do their IPO, guess what? Coinbase is going to be subject to the pump and dump market that they currently pretty much almost like control at the moment. Except their pump and dump market is just the shitcoin market, and they're suddenly going to be exposed to the pumping and dumping of the stock market, which means any negative press is going to have a fundamental effect on their share price. Outrageous. Heads are going to roll. But as we've been told repeatedly, Coinbase's IPO is the first of its kind. Already a lightning rod for controversy, the company is about to have a price share open for all to see. On the flip side, on the 14th of April, countless people are going to, for the first time, be able to buy exposure to a company that is not only currently embroiled in scandal, but might get blown up by a number of investigations or accusations at any moment. One might imagine that the public's tolerance for this wild west that crypto has become will be much lower when their pockets are being hurt directly by the problems such as circumstance creates. Likewise, public companies attract scrutiny, not only from the public but from law enforcement and regulators, and news outlets as well, to a degree not typically seen in purely private companies flying further under the radar. On top of all this, Coinbase is operating in an industry where the future of regulation is an entirely open question. If comments by the US's income administration are anything, incoming administration or anything to go by, the shoe is going to drop on the industry sooner rather than later. Just how can Coinbase be fairly valued without knowing what regulatory equilibrium will look like? Even assuming there is no major existential scandal in the near future, everyone needs to ask the question, what will the Coinbase model be worth when this industry is fully regulated, competition forces margins down, and it becomes generally understood that they are intentionally not exposed to any token platforms that actually scale? Yeah, exactly. It can only be Bitcoin. Perhaps Coinbase is not such a good deal after all. Again, I mean, shitcoiners aren't reading this. Shitcoiners shit for brains. This is what I'm saying. There is a concentration of quality in Bitcoin right now, in BSV. Unfortunately, it is going to be diluted as shitcoiners come in. The entire world is going to pile in, but that's why I always say I would recommend building relationships and getting to know people now while the quality is still here. It's the best. It's the best, if we call it a community. It is by far the best community to be in the world right now. Literally. Without a shadow of a doubt. It's amazing. I've had the time of my life. The people I've met in this space, absolute quality. Top quality. Head screwed on, legally compliant, intelligent, because they figured it out. Brilliant. I've just been going for 30 minutes already to see what else there is. So we just read that, the IPO. Ooh, other articles here. What's this one? Coinbase $1 billion valuation in question, with identity of Satoshi Nakamoto before courts. Oh, yes, indeed. Oh, this is great. Bitcoin creator Dr. Craig S. Wright is welcoming the latest legal attack against his Bitcoin SV BSV protocol, saying the action will boomerang on his accusers. This week, the Crypto Open Patent Alliance filed a legal claim against Dr. Craig Wright in the High Courts of Justice, Business and Property Courts of England and Wales. The claim asked the court to declare that Wright is not Satoshi Nakamoto, author of the 2008 Bitcoin white paper, and thus Wright has no claim to ownership of the copyright in said document. Well, we know how that's going to end, because we've already seen it. I'll just bring this up again to remind ourselves. Showed it the other day. There it is. Look. This is why Peter McCormack pulled out of his defense. Craig Wright submitted a crazy amount of evidence that he is Satoshi in my lawsuit. What's your point? Oh dear. The claim comes in response to Wright's legal action earlier this year, in which he targeted a number of developers and websites that hosted the white paper, including the individual known as Cobra, who currently controls Bitcoin.org. These developers support the BTC protocol, that's Corecoin, which Wright maintains is a bastardized version of Bitcoin. It's not even Bitcoin, it's nothing like Bitcoin. Detailed in the white paper, and thus these websites have no right to claim any affiliation with Bitcoin's foundational document. Yeah, absolutely. Given that Copa's chosen legal venue is on Wright's home turf, and the fact that Copa's status as claimant assigns it the higher burden of proof, this filing could well prove to be the tactical blunder by Copa. That's a great description. A tactical blunder. Wright certainly seems to view it as such, telling CoinGeek that he welcomes Copa's claim and the opportunity to have my credentials judged legally. Wright added that erroneous definitions provided by Copa in its claim would also give him the chance to highlight exactly why BTC is not Bitcoin, as set out in the white paper, the copyright of which will now finally be defined. Oh dear. Copa is a US-based group comprising a number of tech companies, including Arc.io, BitHive, BitPay, Blockchain Commons, Blockstream, would you believe it? Bitbank, Carnes, Validatis, Coinbase, surprise, Foundation Devices, Kraken, not a shitcoin exchange, Lisk, Mempool.space, Mercury.cash, MicroStrategy, no surprise there, OKCoin, no surprise there either, Protocol Labs request, Satoshi Labs, Square, Stack, and StakeNet. Apart from their interesting technology, many Copa members share a distinct anti-apathy towards right and the Bitcoin protocol. These companies are heavily reliant on the success of the Coolcoin token, which is enjoying sky-high valuations despite its 1 megabyte block size limit and the resulting sky-high transaction fees and glacially slow confirmation times. With the possible exception of Blockstream, perhaps none of Copa's members are more dependent on BTC's artificially pumped up value than Coinbase, the crypto exchange that scheduled its Nasdaq debut this Wednesday. And since Right's aim is to disabuse people of the fiction that BTC is Bitcoin, Coinbase has extra motivation for seeing Right fall. The prospectus for Coinbase's public listing confesses these concerns in its material risk section, citing the need for BTC and Ethereum to resolve significant scaling challenges and increase the volume and speed of transactions. But they won't be able to do it because their problems are fundamental, not technical. They can't do it fundamentally. For years now, the two protocols, it's like trying to make red from blue and yellow. Red is a primary color. You can't make it from other colors. These douchebags have no idea. For years now, the two protocols have been promising that solutions to these challenges are just around the corner, but the wheels on that bus just keep spinning in the mud. Coinbase's stated material risk also include the identification of Satoshi Nakamoto or the transfer of Satoshi's bitcoins. It's alleged that Satoshi amassed a stash of 1.1 million tokens before his exit from the space public stage. And while these coins have sat dormant ever since, the prospect of so much new supply flooding the market could prove the iceberg to BTC's titanic valuation. Ironically, Wright is the defendant in a separate lawsuit in Florida in which the plaintiff is trying to convince a court that Wright is Satoshi. Ira Kleiman, brother of the late computer expert David Kleiman, a friend and colleague of Wright, is asking the court to force Wright to hand over half of the 1.1 million tokens belonging to Satoshi. Clearly, Coinbase is watching the outcome of this case, the way anxious farmers watch the sky for signs of hail, and would be Coinbase's investors should do likewise. Patently ridiculous. Coinbase's prospectus also celebrates its self-defined virtues, including a pledge to not monetize our patents or attempt to block third parties from competing with us by asserting our patents offensively against third parties. However, Coinbase reserves the right to counter-assert our patents defensively when such action suits their purposes. Similarly, Square exec and Copa board member Kurupa Pushparaj claimed Copa's mission was to remove barriers to cryptocurrency innovation and adoption through the elimination of frivolous litigation. Pushparaj palpably ignores the fact that BTC's inherent technical limitations are the main barrier to its adoption as an actual currency, a fundamental weakness that has no frivolous litigation against Right will resolve. Of course, one man's frivolous litigation is another man's fierce defense of hard-won intellectual property rights. Devising truly groundbreaking intellectual property takes brains, time, effort, and money, and an inventor might well choose to regard infringement of his rights to be a hill worth defending. If that defense is regarded as problematic by those looking to use technology to which they're not entitled, maybe they should focus on developing the world's tiniest violin. Anti-Beers Vaxxers, that's funny. Wright has developed innovations that even his sharpest critics don't deny, include the BSV protocol and its lack of an arbitrary block size cap. This allows BSV to pack millions of transactions into a single block while also permitting the BSV blockchain to host massive amounts of data. Feats that would snap the BTC chain like its links were Cheerios. Copa members such as Coinbase have little to gain from BSV's expansive options, given Coinbase's reliance on the fees generated from speculators frivolously swapping BTC and Ethereum tokens as their value waxes and wanes. Absolutely. Since BSV is designed to act as a currency, not a commodity, even though, well, yeah, it is a commodity, but it's designed to act like a currency, Coinbase has a vested interest in ensuring BSV doesn't emerge as the dominant protocol. By taking this action against Right, Copa resembles a medical supply company that has been making a fortune over the past year selling ventilators to hospitals at inflated prices. Having grown accustomed to easy profits, Copa seeks to discredit any perceived remedy for BTC's well-documented limitations by fueling anti-BSV sentiment. It's time to inoculate the world against these falsehoods. Absolutely. Absolutely. Loving that. Right, because I've been going for 40 minutes already. There was another article, but maybe we'll save that for tomorrow. Let's leave it there. Handles and paymails in the chat box. Let's do this, people. Shout out to people in there already. I can see Aaron Goosewell. Shelley Mack in there as well. Thank you very much. And Richie Rich. All right. Thank you all for joining me. And Audine Horace as well. And Aaron Goodfield. Just seen more at the top. Matty Ray as well. And Reform Too Many Coiner. And Keith Fellows. All right, people. Hope you enjoyed that show. There we go. Excellent. Right, just opening my handcash here. Remember, we are now donging Duros. Rock and roll. Here we go, handcash. Sending money. Shelley Mack, you have Diddy Weldon in there as well. Thank you very much. There we go, Shelley Mack. Duro on the way. Got it. Caught that. Orange Kick's in there too. Thank you very much. I know that you are now in my contact list. Orange Kick. There we go. Got it. Duro on the way. Dong in our Duro. Wi-Fi and Diddy Weldon in there too. Here we go. This one's for you, Diddy. Diddy, not Duddy. Swiping to send on the way. And Wi-Fi, you're next. Thank you very much. Here we go. I have to put that one in my contacts too. There we go. One Giro on the way. Yep, got that one right. Big blocks, Keith Fellows. Here we go. BIGB out. There we go. Got it. Giro on the way. Here we go. Richie Rich coming up. Here we go. RICH. Rich. Got it. Jura being donged. Here we go. Attendees. Yeah, good one. Aaron Goofield. This one is on the way to you. There we go. Aaron G. On the way to Yao. There we go. Matty Ray, still need your one in there. And Odin Horus, need yours as well, if you could. Reform Too Many Coiner, can't remember what your one was. Yeah, there we go. I use it or you use it or lose it. Got it. Use it or lose it. There we go. Had a bit of a brain block then. There we go. Can I remember? Odin Horus, need yours in there, mate. Can't remember what it is. I think that's everybody. Yeah, Odin Horus and Matty Ray just need yours in there. If you would be so kind as to put them in there. But that's alright if you don't want to. Right, we'll leave it there, folks. Hope you enjoyed the show. And as ever, be aware, take care, stay safe out there. Joy given. You know, stay tuned for tomorrow for live updates on the charts. The markets are looking juicy. Look at 333 according to Prev. Let's just have a quick look at live coin watch. Yeah, 337 according to coin watch. Whoa, look at that. Look at that. Number go up, peeps. Number go up. Right, we'll leave you there. Enjoy the rest of your day, folks. See you later. Get paid for posting your pics on Relica. Download the app now at www.getrelica.com. Get your tweet etched on Twitch, forever on the Bitcoin blockchain. Do it today at www.jointwitch.com. BuyBSV.live, the best place to buy Bitcoin SV online. Support independent content creators on micropayment platforms such as Streamanity, Twitch and Relica. We should profit from our data, not the large corporations who track, monitor and sell it. If you enjoy the Bitcoin content that I produce, please support me by heading over to www.satoshi.tv, where you can keep up to date with all the latest news, gossip and content as it's created. Thanks very much. To get started in Bitcoin, go to freebsv.com, where you can claim your free Bitcoin. Then head over to Twitter and follow @IamSatoshi, where you can take part in his very generous and world famous free giveaways. The future of advertising meets the power of Bitcoin at Tonic Pow. Get paid for posting advertising campaigns to your social media profiles. Go to www.tonicpowads.com.